Agave hearts, or the basal rosette and leaf bases of agave plants, were eaten by the Apache, Cahuilla, Mexican Kickapoo, Paiute, Puebloans, Seri, Tepehuan, Tohono O'odham, Plains tribes, and Texas Paleo Indians. A shovel-like implement of hard wood was used to cut off the leaves and cut the plant from the ground. Agaves are poisonous if not properly prepared. I'm gathering box elder leaves to cook the agave in an earth oven. The basal rosette is the best part as the flesh is thick and sweet and the fibers are weak, but the lowermost leaves are bitter, so I'm removing them. The whole leaf is edible if cooked, but the fibers get stronger toward the tip, so typically on the leaf bases were eaten and the fibers need to be chewed or scraped out of those. Raw agave juice is caustic and began to irritate my inner forearm, but smearing mud on it counteracted it. I'm making an earth oven here, a common cooking method historically used by American Indians and foraging societies around the world. My version is very small, and the historical agave ovens of the Apache could be 12 feet in diameter and 4 feet deep. The rocks and dirt hold the heat a long time, slow cooking the food. A layer of vegetation protects the food. You want to remove the live coals before putting on the vegetation. Those rocks should be holding a lot of heat, and rocks that don't explode are probably best. I'm actually using flint rocks, which do explode, and gathering rocks from a creek can also be a problem if they have water in their grain. But a porphyritic or close-grained igneous rock or something like soapstone is also a good choice. The preferred gathering time of hearts among the Cahuilla and Seri was January through February. It was considered better when the plant was not preparing to flower. At least 9 of the 30 agave species in the U.S. were eaten. The most common species eaten by the Apache was Agave perii, by the Cahuilla, Agave deserti, by the Seri, Agave subsimplex, and by the Tohono O'odham, Agave americana. Tried to keep some coals going overnight, but it probably burned out after a few hours, but it holds on to the heat so well that in the morning the soil was still quite warm, or hot even at parts. I could use some more vegetation, so some dirt got in there to wash it off. Agave americana, American century plant, is what I'm cooking, and it's a common ornamental in my area with some escaped wild populations. That white part kind of looks like a leaf base, which it is, I guess, but that's also properly part of the heart. I would consider the heart to be all of that white material, and past the white material where it's green, you start getting more fibers, which are difficult to chew, very tough. In fact, you kind of have to remove them. So that's why what's left there at the end, it was the white part. The heart is the best part of all, because you can eat that raw with your teeth and no problem, don't have to spat out any fibers. I decided to go ahead and just pulp all of it together because I want to make some pulque, or just make a drink out of it in order to extract all those carbohydrates simply by adding some extra water and mushing it around. And this allows the possibility of fermentation. So I put that pulp in a big container and added a couple gallons of water. Just use the dipper in here. Try to get it with as little fiber as possible. I need to add more water as it goes. And this can be fermented longer and turned into pulque, an alcoholic drink made from the pulp of agave. And this, once distilled, is of course tequila, or mezcal for some species of agave. It's got an interesting taste, a little bit acrid, a little bit sweet. It's got some herbal taste to it. It does still have a little bit of that artichoke, maybe even asparagus-like taste to it, but it's not very strong. It's got a taste of its own for sure. Maybe a little bit acidic. It's actually kind of bland, but I'd say a bland, acidic, very slightly acrid, and a little bit herbaceous taste. This is a pretty efficient way to get the nutrition out of the agave heart, and if you do want to ferment this into an alcoholic drink, it can totally be done, and probably is one of the better wild plant species to use to make alcohol. This, grapes, those stand out to me in Texas as good fermentation species, but I'll have to try to consume all this before it gets too fermented. And another thing you can do is strain this through something, especially like if you have a big cloth sack Maybe you can use an old t-shirt or something. I might do this. Pour it through that and then squeeze it, and then you'll be removing all of these fibers, but that'll allow you to get a more clear drink, which you can continue to ferment that. To make preserves, the Apache pounded out the hearts into thin sheets and let them sun dry. The pulp juice was periodically sprinkled on the sheet, forming a glaze as each layer dried. The Seri sliced up the hearts and sun-dried those to preserve them. They pulped the leaf bases, removed the fibers, and formed the pulp into flattened cakes that were sun-dried.